the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898 and you're going to be blessed by taking action right now.
South Korea denouncing a decision by North Korea to cut off all roads and railways that once linked the two countries.
Road and rail links between the two Koreas were once touted as a physical symbol of the neighbors' warming ties. Now, the opposite is happening. As relations grow ever more sour across the Korean peninsula, Pyongyang announced Wednesday that it would permanently shut all routes south and would build more defense structures along its border. The North has already removed streetlights and added land along the roads, while also dismantling some sections of railway track, closing off links that once carried regular trade shipments.
BBC correspondent Celia Hatton. Britain's new Labour government unveiling a slew of new rights for workers that have been broadly welcomed by unions in the country, including more generous rules for sick pay and parental leave. Breaking news at townhall.com. Former Senator Tim Johnson, the last Democrat to hold statewide office in South Dakota and who spent nearly 3 decades in Congress, has died. He was 77. A rare comet is brightening the night skies this month.
The comet Tsuchinshan Atlas, discovered last year, is slinging toward Earth and will make its closest approach about 44 million miles away on Saturday. Astronomers say it should be bright enough to see with the naked eye. It's come from the Oort cloud, well beyond Pluto, and won't return for another 80,000 years, assuming it survives the trip. Comets are frozen leftovers from the solar system's formation, and they heat up as they swing toward the sun, releasing their characteristic streaming tails. To see it, venture outside about an hour after sunset on a clear night and look to the west. I'm Ben Thomas.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
101.9 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Just another sunny day with a high temperature in the low 80s today. Lots of sun and low humidity, very light winds. In fact, nearly calm most of the day. What wind we do get will probably be out of the south. We'll be in the mid-80s and sunny tomorrow after a nice, cool, dry start. And then near record heat on Saturday, the high in the upper 80s and sunny, turning breezy and cooler on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
What happens next?
You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues.
Happens right here.
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
America Decides 2024.
That he would weaponize the Department of Justice.
If she won the election, they'll go back to destroying our country.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
To me alone, I listen to
welcome to Thursday afternoon and a packed show. Lots of company today on Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with producer Emily. Last night I was doing some live tweeting, I guess you would call it that. I don't know, Emily, how you
play-by-play Twitter
categorize these things lately, but my daughter Grace, who lives in Orlando, works for Disney World, lives in Orlando, was, I was on the phone with her and texting with her, communicating with her pretty much all night last night because the hurricane went right over the top of Orlando last night at about the eye of the storm got there at about 3:00 our time. No, about 3:00 their time. So about 2:00 our time. Of course, nothing like, what they got what she got in Orlando is nothing like the damage and the destruction that was done on the coast. But it was a Category 2 hurricane when it got to Orlando. So there was still some pretty, she sent me some pretty crazy videos that I shared on my Twitter, on my X account at Tony Colombo Talk, that you can go and see. A lot of people have reached out on Twitter and on email and, other ways to send well wishes to Grace. She's 100% okay. She is going to actually join us on the show in about 40 minutes from now at about 2:45, 2:50. She's going to call us from Orlando to kind of give us the experience of being in a Category 2 hurricane. So if you want to go to my Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk, you can see the videos that she sent yesterday. They're pretty wild, especially the last one that she sent that was right when the eye of the storm was the closest to her. You can see it's a video of her parking lot, essentially. So you can see on the pavement, you can see the rain hitting the ground and it's blowing all over the place. And the crazy thing is that the rain and the wind are not going in any one direction. It's good. Like there's a gust of wind that's pushing all the rain, left. And then there's a gust of wind that pushes all the rain right. It's like not one direction of wind. It's wind in all different directions. And it's just a wild scene. So looking forward to talking to my daughter, Grace, at about 2:50 this afternoon. She's going to share her experience there with the hurricane. And again, thanks to everybody who sent out some well wishes over the last few days as this was heading her way. And again, nothing like what they're dealing with on the coast. So thank God for that. We're also going to talk to my Saturday co-host, Mark McMurray. He's going to join us in the 3:00 hour. Also, Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks is going to join us in about 15 minutes to help break down the latest Josh Hawley whistleblower report. And starting the show, and of course, Emily is in studio with me.
Hi.
I'm
here.
Now I'll do the and. Starting the show with us is also the great Crane Durham from nothingbuttruth.com. And Crane, in this crazy world with hurricanes and wars, brothers don't shake hands, brothers got a hug.
And as I hug you, I ask you the question, do you hate Stephen Colbert's behavior as much as I do?
Stephen Colbert, I assume that you're talking about Stephen Colbert and Kamala Harris having a beer while people are suffering.
Yes, and it just reminded me of John Kerry going up to get a hunting license and trying to sound like, oh, hey, I'm John Kerry and I'm a regular guy. Can I get me a hunting license? It's just jackassery and phoniness, and it's just so frustrating.
It is so frustrating. And you know what? Let's start right there with the story, the latest coming out of the politicization of the hurricane.
Well said.
Was it?
Yes.
Of the hurricane relief and the response. This ridiculous story that that is now taking up the headlines in space when we should be talking about help and hurricane relief and all those sorts of things. Instead, we are talking about politics, thanks to Kamala Harris and Stephen Colbert, as Crane just pointed out. So Kamala Harris called out Ron DeSantis, said he's doing he's accused the governor, DeSantis, of playing politics with people's lives, which is asinine and comical because that's exactly what she's doing. All while doing nothing herself, and while the governor, Ron DeSantis, is working hand in hand with President Joe Biden on getting everything done that needs to get done. So DeSantis responded to all this today. He called out Kamala Harris, who has tried to say he's not doing a good job and he's not working with her. However, DeSantis pointed out that the vice president has no role in this situation, whatsoever. And again, he's working hand in hand with President Biden. Emily, I'm going to play a quick little piece of sound here, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, Crane. This is Ron DeSantis talking about Kamala Harris's accusations about him politicizing what's happening with the hurricane relief. And go.
They put out a story saying I didn't even know she was trying to reach me, but she has no role in this process. And I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both Trump and Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. And in fact, all the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she has never called in Florida. She has never offered any support. So what she's doing is she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign. So as the governor here who's leading this, I don't have time for those games. For her to try to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters.
So there you go. He went on, Crane, to say that he has worked, as he touched on it there, but he further explained how during his time as governor, he has worked on various storms and emergencies, always directly with the president. Oh, I'm sorry. That's me. That's me. I'm sorry. That's my computer switching to another video. Sorry. My fault. Anyway, Crane, that he's always worked with the president of the United States, whether it be Donald Trump or Joe Biden, when it comes to a storm or an emergency, and that the vice president, no matter who it is, never had any role in that situation whatsoever. And of course, Joe Biden has even complimented Ron DeSantis on the job he's been doing with the most recent hurricane relief. So hypocritical at the highest level out of Kamala Harris on this situation. How do you see it?
Well, you got me taking notes like knucklehead Tim Walz over here. Here's what I wrote down, okay? Unless the vice president is breaking a tie on a vote to bring us more inflation, maybe she should just stick to campaigning. All right. I think that's really important. Biden likes Kamala Harris so much, he has no problem telling the world, the United States, and bringing us an update on this, that Ron DeSantis is doing a great job, as you just mentioned, and he has a personal cell phone number of Joe Biden.
Yes.
Working together. So if Kamala wants the job, do her job and remove Biden under the 25th Amendment and get that process going. But she doesn't have the fortitude to do that. No, because she wants to be the agent of change. What would she change? Not much. Even Sunny Hostin from The View. Who is Sunny Hostin? I don't care. But she actually asked a question that was a good question. Relevant. Yeah. Believe it or not. Broken clock. Right. Twice a day.
Yeah.
So this kind of stuff drives me nuts because we are in a crisis. We're at a crisis at the border, or crisis national security, or crisis in North Carolina, and with the hurricanes. Your daughter, how proud you must be, by the way, calling in, giving the information on call. And I can only imagine how worried you are right now, because I know you're a great daddy. So
much better today than I was yesterday, because as of when I talked to her a little earlier today, she said, last night it was like an apocalypse outside, and today there in Orlando right now it's a beautiful sunny day. So we're okay now, which thank God for that.
That's great to hear.
But Crane, to your point, and to further extend this out. So first of all, you've got Kamala Harris going on, television, going to the media and saying that Ron DeSantis refused to take her call. And Ron DeSantis cleared that up in his press conference saying, I didn't even know she was calling because Joe Biden has my direct line. So when the White House wants to talk to me, when the administration wants to talk, they get right through. I don't even know who or what Kamala Harris is calling, let alone am I refusing any calls. But she has, as he said, no role in this whatsoever. Just grandstanding.
It's a great way to say it.
Yeah, just grandstanding and, wanting to inject herself into something that she has no business being a part of. But, Crane, what I think is that this spotlights a bigger message, a bigger situation that voters need to realize, both on the national level and the local level. Democrats change the rules to fit what benefits them. So, for example, Kamala calling out DeSantis for playing politics with lives during a hurricane when actually that's exactly what she's doing. Also, although the president, Joe Biden and Ron DeSantis seem to be getting along, when they are speaking and working on a plan for relief, the White House also Joe Biden still has a lot to answer for because, we had this whole situation this week about, there's FEMA relief funds, but not necessarily for this, and certain conditions have to be met before we can send this money to the hurricane victims. However, we have plenty of money to send overseas, so don't worry about that money, but conditions have to be met for that, like whatever that confusing BS was, is definitely not letting Joe Biden off the hook in this situation. So they're the ones playing politics with people's lives during a hurricane, not Ron DeSantis and the Republicans, as they would have you believe, but also what's happening here in Missouri with Amendment 3, the abortion amendment. Democrats, I get these ads like crazy on social media, and the message is the Amendment 3 message, the vote yes on 3 message that the Democrats are pushing is government and politicians don't have a right to make your medical decisions. That's not what politicians and government should do. One, that's not what the Republicans are doing when it comes to Amendment 3. And 2, these are the same people that wanted to make it mandatory to get the vaccination and wanted to take your rights away if you didn't. So saying that the government and politicians should have no say in your medical choices now is laughable when we all know that that's the exact opposite of what they were saying during the pandemic. So I think that this hurricane situation and this Kamala Harris, Ron DeSantis situation points out a larger issue that voters, I think, need to be aware of in November.
And just going to the 30,000 feet view of this issue and the rhetoric behind it, it's not about what's happening to the woman's body solely. No, it's about the baby. Everybody forgets the baby. Why did they forget the baby? Why can't we talk about the baby?
Right.
Because it's a baby, and
because it's a life that's being ended, and that's not a good look for Democrats. So that's why they're not talking about it.
Yeah. And Tony, what I love about your program and you specifically is you have your views about when and where it should be when it comes to the life issue.
Yeah, I'm actually pro-choice, which rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But I think, go ahead. Please.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just think that the Republicans have a problem with Amendment 3 because it's making this a binary choice, and people don't like to take away rights and choice from people. So when it comes down to it, I am afraid that Amendment 3 is going to pass, which people don't realize all the things in here. It is restrictive. It's restrictiveless, no restrictions on abortions all the way up to the time of birth. There's part of it that says that you cannot sue a doctor for malpractice. If a woman gets hurt or damaged in this procedure in any way, the doctor has immunity under the Amendment 3 rules. There's other things in there that people need to realize. And, we're talking about allowing this, partial birth, late term, no restrictions abortions, where I think Republicans would be much better off promoting a bill that was like what the Missouri law used to be, an 8-week or a heartbeat bill, an 8-week ban, a 10-week ban, whatever it may be, that would eliminate the vast majority of these barbaric procedures of late term, partial birth, and all of these types of abortions. But when it comes down to just yes or no, I'm afraid that people are going to not want to be able to pull that trigger and take away that right completely. So I think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that in places that traditionally are more conservative. And the idea is, as pro-life as I am, the fact is, what we need to do is we need to have the discussion and go incrementally, because that's going to save more lives.
Yes.
If you really support life, then you go, how can I save the most amount of lives? And it is being with the system, having the discussion, and not demonizing those who have the discussion, and discuss what it is, which is life. And the more, and by the way, science is catching up to God. So, I mean, I always feel like it's just a matter of time. And as much as I will advocate, we need practical solutions and get the ball down the field as much as we can.
And to your point, the lies about what is coming out about when we have this conversation, because they're not focusing on the baby, as you mentioned. They don't talk about the baby because that's not a good look for them. They don't talk about how there's no restrictions because that's not a good look for them. They want to create this false argument of the government is trying to take over your medical decisions when that's all that they've wanted for the last 10 years. They want universal government-controlled health care. They wanted to force vaccinations onto people and take away your rights if you didn't have them. And now they're claiming that they're the party that's, against the government control of your medical choices. That's the approach that they're taking, and that is what we need to combat. The truth needs to be told. There's still a big problem there. Like I said, even with the truth out there, I think Republicans are making a mistake, but that's not the conversation we're having nationally or locally. It's all sifting through the lies and misinformation on the left. Crane, final thoughts. We are almost out of time here.
Final thoughts is I appreciate the fact that we can have the conversation and that you're bringing up the truth and the relevant facts when it comes that are germane to the issue. And that's what you get. News Talk STL and Colombo Company.
And nothingbutTruth.com, where you can find Crane every day. NothingbutTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. Crane Durham, thank you as always for all of your insight, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Love you too, buddy.
Okay.
All right, we roll on. As I mentioned, my daughter Grace live from Orlando to tell us about her experience with the hurricane last night. She is going to join us at about 2:50 this afternoon. And coming up next, we are going to talk to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. We will try to get into some of the local issues like Amendment 3 with the representative, but also want to get his thoughts on the latest whistleblower report coming out of Senator Josh Hawley's office. Justin Sparks, before he was a politician, was a police officer that has worked on security detail for presidents and vice presidents many times in the past. So he has been a wealth of insight and information when it comes to unpacking everything that happened in these assassination attempts and all of these various reports that we're getting from the Secret Service and now from Senator Josh Hawley. So we will unpack all of that with Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks next on Colombo Company.
News, analysis, opinion.
Being president is a very dangerous job.
There has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
101.9 and 94.1.
I'm not a threat to democracy. They are.
News Talk STL.
If you are looking to purchase a home or sell your home in the St. Louis area, either one of those things, the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway can help you, and they are the team to call. And I know this from personal experience. A couple years ago, Christine and I not only sold our old home, but bought our new home that we love and wake up in every day. Thankful to Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner Home Selling Team, for helping us find and especially selling our old home. How fast they did that and how much they got for it was more than we ever expected going in, and put us in such a great position, looking for that other house on the other side, since we were buying a house on the other side, gave us a true head start and a real advantage that they were able to sell our old home as fast and for as much as they did. I just cannot thank them enough, and I cannot express what a positive experience we had working with the Wallners, and we are far from the only ones. Of course, they're selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller, and they have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the St. Louis area, the Wallners can help you. And right now, it is still a great seller's market, a great conditions if you are selling a home that you can take advantage of. So call Rodney and Jen now, the Wallner Home Selling Team. If you are thinking about selling your home, let them help. Call them at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Missouri, your voice matters.
Jobs and the economy are the most important issues in the coming election.
I think we need some kind of change.
The Farmers Co-op, Old Town Country Store, and News Talk STL remind you that November 5th, you have the power to shape our state and nation's future.
My vote counts.
Get out to vote November 5th, because the future is in your hands.
Everybody has the right to vote.
I do vote because I want to matter.
Get out to vote. Brought to you by the Farmers Co-op, Old Town Country Store, Washington Guard, and Tango Argentina Foods.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The sun is over the city, but it's an orange day. There is reason for looking up, but I'm feeling down.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Going to talk to my daughter Grace in Orlando about her experience last night with the hurricane here in just about 15 minutes. So keep it here for that. I'm very much looking forward to talking to my daughter for many reasons, whether it's a hurricane or not. Looking forward to that conversation. Right now, we have on the line with us Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks, somebody who I love just almost as much as my daughter, just one step below my daughter is Justin Sparks, who is with us on the line now, as he is every Thursday at this time. Justin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Tony. And I think that space that separates your daughter and I is a little more than you let on.
I have a lot of love to give. All right. I just I have a lot of love in my heart. So, there's a lot there for everybody. Before we get rolling here, Justin, I wanted to bring up, I've been talking about this event that is happening on tomorrow night now. I almost said Friday, but it's Thursday. So tomorrow night now, the 8th annual Officer Blake Snyder Memorial Trivia Night. We've been promoting this all week, and I know this is obviously something very close to you personally. This event is happening tomorrow, which is October 11th at the Moolah Shrine Center on Fifi. You can still get information on how to participate or donate or sponsor on the website needofaidtrivia.com. And I just wanted to give you a chance to maybe talk about this for a second because of the personal connection that you have to Officer Snyder and the whole situation.
Of course. And Tony, thanks for bringing it up, because of all the charity fundraisers out there, and trust me, I go to a lot of them. Some of them are a lot of fun, and some of them are less than a lot of fun. And even though sometimes it's always for a good cause, this one's been going on since Blake died, was killed in the line of duty, made the ultimate sacrifice. And it is a blast. It's a great night, trivia night. It's very funny. It's fast paced, and you just get to enjoy a lot of good fellowship and a lot of laughs for a good cause. And I wouldn't tell you that this is always one that I don't miss, because we do everything we can to be there, because it's a great time, but it's also for a great cause. So I encourage everybody, if you can, swing by and enjoy yourself.
And that's the way it should be, to memorialize and celebrate somebody's life, especially when there was such a tragedy that happened. You know, you don't want to focus on the sadness and the tragedy. You want to fix it. You want to, you don't want to forget. You want to, do all the things that you can to make sure that, this doesn't happen to others, but you want to make it a positive event. And that's what's so cool to hear about this event. So again, it's the 8th annual Officer Blake Snyder Memorial Trivia Night. It's tomorrow night at the Moolah Shrine Center on Fifi. Go to needofaidtrivia.com if you want to get more details. If you want to participate, if you want to donate, you can get all that information at needofaidtrivia.com. Justin Sparks, of course, not only a state representative, but the long history in law enforcement himself as a police officer. You have been such a help when it comes to unpacking all of the information that has surrounded both presidential assassination attempts. Wanted to get your thoughts on the latest Josh Hawley whistleblower report, which claims the Secret Service is painting a false picture of protection for Donald Trump. We touched on this briefly yesterday, but I wanted to save this conversation for this interview with you, Justin. So just to catch everybody up, Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley sent a letter to the U.S. Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security yesterday detailing a new whistleblower claim that Secret Service leadership is trying to hide the level of protection given to former President Donald Trump. The letter to U.S. Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe and DHS Inspector General Joseph Kafari alleges a whistleblower's claims that government auditors are being denied access to certain Trump campaign events in an effort to hide these apparent protection shortfalls for the former president. So basically, the Secret Service, the government itself, is trying to investigate why there's been these problems, this lack of security at these two assassination attempts, but the Secret Service is blocking their own auditors, their own investigators from going to certain events, which I can't imagine, which as Josh Hawley assesses, and I can't think of any other reason why, Justin, except for they don't want the auditors to see what's happening. I can't think of any other reason that you would block something like that. How do you analyze this?
It's a confirmation of what we've suspected for weeks now, and you're going to see more of this. You're going to see a stonewalling from the very highest levels in Washington, D.C. These are the directors. These are the appointed people, the political ideologues, the sycophants that are subject to the current regime. And they are going to do everything they can to obfuscate and blockade any information from getting out, and it will get out eventually. Yes, you will see it. There are going to be more whistleblowers in the next few weeks. And what you're going to see is that it was intentional. You're going to see that, in my opinion now, you're going to see that these very high level officials purposefully and intentionally reduced the security footprint at Donald Trump events. That's what I'm predicting right here and now. That's what you're going to see. And what they're desperately trying to do is get through the next election. That's what they're really trying to do. Because if they can win in November, this all goes away. You'll never see the light of truth. They will completely, the files got deleted. Oh, we didn't know. Oh, the servers are gone. You'll see ridiculous covering of butts after November, but they have to win first. They know if Donald Trump wins, the books are opened, and they're going to be opened on more than just what has happened at the Secret Service. You're going to see the books open on Jeffrey Epstein. You're going to see the books open on John F. Kennedy. You're going to see the books open on a whole lot of things that a lot of people don't want to be seen.
I don't even know that it'll even go as far as you just explained if they win. I think that they will just count on the short attention span of the American people and the American media, and they'll just let it fade into obscurity if they win. They won't even give excuses. They'll just let it fade into obscurity, and that's what we can't let happen. My question for you is, what does your gut tell you? We're talking to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks, who had a long career in law enforcement as a police officer, who has worked on presidential and vice presidential security detail. So on the ground, working in these exact situations. If it happened, if they were doing this when the first assassination attempt happened and Donald Trump was actually shot in the head, what does your gut tell you about how did they continue to intentionally not give him the protection, even because now the spotlight is on them? I could see you trying to get away with some shenanigans, up until an assassination attempt, but in your opinion, were they so bold and just so confident in what they're doing and their ability to cover it up and lie to the American people that it continued even after the first assassination attempt?
I think it not only continued, but it became more widespread and more obvious.
Wow.
It became more in your face because of a lack of blowback, meaning what should have happened after that first assassination attempt was the entire Democrat Party and infrastructure should have, in one accord with the Republicans, said, that's it. We're opening the books. We're going to find out a total overhaul of the Secret Service. This is what's going to happen. But you didn't see that. Instead, what you saw was protectionism, and you saw the Democrat Party circle the wagons around the administrative state. Some call it the deep state, but really what it is an administrative blob state, a bureaucracy that protects its own and will continue to protect its own. And it only became more obvious. This has been a trend now since 2020, which is it's in your face. We're going to do whatever we want, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And that's really what the hatred of Donald Trump is. The hatred of Donald Trump, love him or hate him on a personal level, we can talk about that all day long.
Yeah.
It's that he represents a dismantling of the administrative bureaucratic deep state. That's what he represents. He represents the idea that the people actually reign supreme. That's what is etched into the walls of our Capitol. The people reign supreme. It's what it's supposed to be, but it has slowly been chipped away for decades. And he represents a return to that. It's a return. It's a nationalist populism of the people claiming their power again. And Tony, that's terrifying for a lot of people in Washington, D.C.
I was talking to, I think it was Susie Moore earlier this week. I wish that we still lived in a world where, because you just touched on Donald Trump's personality and like as a person, love him, hate him, want to unpack, who he is personally, whatever. I wish we still lived in a world where that mattered, where the tiebreaker was who's a better person personally. But we're so far past that right now in this country. There's such a distinctly different path from what a Donald Trump White House and regime looks like and what the continuation of a Biden-Harris regime looks like. Doesn't matter what you think about any of these people personally. If you think that Donald Trump is a bad person and a weirdo, I can understand why you think that way, but take a look at the other side. Kamala Harris, Doug Emhoff, Tim Walz, Joe Biden, Jill Biden. You want to talk about some weirdos and bad people? Let's not really have that conversation because nobody's winning there. And I just think it's so important that people realize how much the path is. That is everything in this election on so many different issues. I want to read you just a little piece of Josh Hawley's report here, and then we're almost out of time. I want to get your thoughts on this and just see if this sounds accurate to you, if you think that Senator Hawley is onto something. This is part of the letter that he wrote to the Secret Service Director, Ronald Rowe. He said, quote, "You, of course, have publicly stated that former President Trump is receiving the highest level of Secret Service protection and that he's getting everything." The whistleblower said that this new information about you blocking auditors troublingly contradicts your public statements. And in his letter to the Inspector General, the Department of Homeland Security, IG, he said, quote, "Secret Service headquarters blocked several of your auditors from accessing recent Trump events. The Secret Service whistleblower alleges that the denial was in order to hide the fact that the former president is not receiving a consistent level of protective assets for all his engagements." Do you think that this is exactly what's happening? Do you think that Josh Hawley in this whistleblower report is 100% accurate?
100%. And it's predictable. Not at all surprising, is it? Because you're like, well, because we, Tony, you and I, and a huge section of the American population, we still live in the old world. We live in the world where we are ran by the honor system, where people don't politicize certain issues, that, hurricanes and hurricane relief isn't politicized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That world doesn't exist anymore. And more of us need to really wake up and realize the reality in which we live are people that are going to do the wrong thing, and they're going to do it in your face. And they must be compelled to do the right thing. They must be compelled or they won't do it. That's how this works.
You know what you just said? I think what you just said is so important to remember, and this is why we need to keep talking about all of these issues and not let them fade from the public conversation, because these people are so emboldened that they are now doing and saying things publicly that used to be something you would try to hide. But they're so confident in their ability to lie to the American people and just be not held to account, not held accountable for their lies, their crimes, whatever it may be, that they are just now saying the quiet part out loud. And we just cannot allow that to continue. We've got to keep talking about it until somebody is held to account for their lies and for their crimes. I think that's so important moving forward. Final thoughts, Justin.
No, you just hit on something that's probably the most important thing that the viewers and the listeners can take from this conversation, which is that people really do reign supreme. And I have witnessed this firsthand, that the one thing, and I mean the one thing, that these people are terrified of are the people. They are afraid that the people will hold them accountable. They fear populism. Populism is when the people assume the power that has been given to them endowed by their creator. They have the right and they have the power. The power really is with the people. And when the people wake up and assume that power again and start to actually look at what's going on and ask questions why, my goodness, does it have an effect on that? Legislators can't get things done. The administrative state is so powerful, but when the people start asking questions, boy, do they jump and they say how high. So I just want to encourage everybody, assume your power, assume your voice, and watch things get done. And that's how we do it. We do it through whistleblowers.
Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks, really appreciate your information and all the insight as always, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
You too, buddy. See ya.
Yeah, great stuff there from Missouri State Representative, former police officer Justin Sparks. Okay, we are going to roll on. We're going to talk to my Saturday co-host, Mark McMurray from the Bluff City Outdoor Show. He's going to join us in the 3 o'clock hour. And we are going to talk to my daughter, Grace, live in Orlando about her experience with what was a Category 2 Hurricane Milton that went right through her city, right where she was last night. And we're going to talk to her about that experience next here on Colombo and Company.
The Allman Report.
Thursday on the Allman Report, Bidenomics killing everything in sight, including McDonald's fries of all things. The Allman Report, Thursday on News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Not the fries. Say it ain't so. If you have any issues with your gutters, this is two separate thoughts here. That's how it works in my brain. If you have any issues with your gutters right now, or you don't have the proper protection on your gutters, this is the time of year where leaf protection is so important. When we bought our new house a couple years ago, we inherited a gutter issue. A tree had fallen on the roof underneath the previous owners, and they had the roof fixed, but not the gutters. So the gutter was dented and it was overflowing, and it was causing water to pool up right at the base of our house, right in front of a basement window every time there was any significant rain. And it was going to eventually be a much bigger problem. But luckily, we called the gutter pros and had them come out and take care of the issue, because if you don't get ahead of the problem, it can turn into something much bigger and much more expensive down the road. And that is why having that leaf protection this time of year, as we transition into the fall season, all the leaves are falling. And if you don't have that leaf protection on your gutters, they are just clogging up those gutters and can create a problem that will be a minor problem at first for now, but could turn into something much bigger and much more costly down the road. So don't allow that to happen. Call the Gutter Pros now. They're your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. And again, I can speak to that personally. They offer leaf protection, gutter repair, new gutter installation, siding repair, siding installation. They do it all at the Gutter Pros. So if you have any issues at your home or your business, call the Gutter Pros now. Call them at 314-656-7195 or just go to gutterpros.com.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family owned and operated, with owner Dean Kleethermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
Ready to explore the underwater world? Great American Divers, your veteran-owned local scuba center, is making waves with incredible offers. Get $50 off any new open water course when you mention News Talk STL. And mark your calendars. November 8th and 9th is our massive fall sale. Everything in store on sale, plus our huge swap and sale event for quality used gear. Daddy certification, equipment repairs, we got it all. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Visit GreatAmericanDivers.com today. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Anthony works in the grocery store, saving his pennies for someday.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Emily. Big thanks to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks for joining us in that last segment. Crane Durham before that. And coming up in just about 10 minutes at 3 o'clock, we're going to be joined by my Saturday co-host, Mark McMurray from the Bluff City Outdoors Show. And right now, as I mentioned, joining us on the line live from Orlando, Florida, is my daughter, Grace, who now I think is just enjoying a nice, bright, sunny day. But last night, it was a totally different story. Grace, Sweetie, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. So I was posting your videos on Twitter last night, and it was crazy because I was posting these videos in the middle of the night at like midnight and 1 a.m. our time, and they're still getting thousands of views. Usually if I post something on social media late at night, it gets no engagement, but obviously, people in St. Louis and across the country were so glued to what was happening with this hurricane. And thank God you guys didn't get, the damage or the full brunt of the storm that they got on, like in Tampa and on the coast. But when it got to Orlando, when it got to you, it was still a Category 2 hurricane. Tell us, just explain kind of like what that looked and sounded like from your perspective.
It was really loud. The wind was super duper loud. It was super strong. It was making our windows rattle and shake. It sounded like somebody was knocking on our door constantly, like the front door was rattling because of how strong the wind was hitting it. And so it was really loud. And the rain wasn't anything super special, and it wasn't thundering or anything. It was just a bunch of rain. A bunch of wind. Of wind.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even realize that. And now thinking about the videos that you sent, you're right. There's not like a bunch of lightning and thunder like you would normally think of in a bad storm. It's just the crazy wind. And what's funny is I posted that one. So one of the videos that Grace sent, and again, you can look at the videos on my Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. And the one that has the knocking is creepy. Like, and I had to, and I put on there like that, the knocking that you hear, this is not Grace. This is the wind.
Not knocking on the window. That's the wind.
Right. And then the last video that I posted was the worst one, right? When I think it was about 3 o'clock your time, 2 or 3 o'clock your time, when the eye of the storm was the closest to you. And it is that video of the parking lot. And you can see, like, watching the wind gusts and watching the rain, you can see that the wind is not blowing in one direction. Like there's a sheet of rain gets blown one direction and then another one gets blown a different direction. It was like the wind was coming from everywhere, right?
Yeah. So it would hit, like, our windows are like in the back of the apartment. Obviously the front door is in the front. So like the windows would rattle and then it would loop around and then hit the door. Like it wasn't just hitting one side of the apartment all night. It was going everywhere.
Is Cole with you? Grace's fiance.
Yes, he
Cole.
is.
Does he want to say hi, Cole? So first of all, before I ask you your experience, were you protecting my daughter last night at all times?
I was.
Thank you, sir.
He was.
All right. Well done. Good man. Grace and I were talking yesterday, and I've told this story before. One of the hurricanes that came through one of the tornadoes that came through St. Louis in recent years actually went right through our old subdivision, 7 houses down from us. There was a tree going through one of our neighbors' houses. That's how close it came to us. So we've kind of experienced this before, like nothing like a hurricane, but, like a really bad destructive storm, has happened to us before. I don't know what it's like to sit through a hurricane. For you, Cole, was this the first time that you saw anything at this level? And what was it like for you?
So this was actually the second bad hurricane. I was here for Hurricane Ian, which was the last time that Disney World shut down. And it was very similar. This one hit us a little worse than Ian did, at least in Orlando. It was just like Grace said, a lot of wind. It was pretty crazy because after Grace had gone to bed, the wind actually picked up a little bit, but the rain stopped. So there was actually no rain, but
creepy.
Just a lot of wind. That was actually when outside of our apartment, one of the trees got blown over and there was no rain. It was just the wind. And that's when the tree had actually fallen down.
So I remember
pretty crazy.
I remember from that tornado, we were watching the radar and I made a mistake. I thought that it had just passed us. But actually, when I went upstairs to kind of check on everything, everybody was down in the basement, Grace and everybody else down in the basement. And when I went upstairs, it was actually right as it was passing us. So it was the worst. And I remember when wind is that powerful, it's not the sound is a little different than what you think it is. It's kind of creepy. It kind of sounds like a train. Do you remember, like, what was your experience with like the sound of that, the power of that wind?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, especially as you saw some of the videos were taken from the apartment. So we were going out in the hallway, and it was definitely, I feel like it was more creepy inside the house because you had the wind hitting the window and you had it hitting the door. And outside, it was just really loud.
Yeah,
And
just making all those crazy sounds.
Yeah, and when it was going through the hallway, like, of our apartment, it almost sounded like someone was just whistling, like, in your ear.
It made like a wind tunnel. Like the door to our apartment is in like an outdoor like hallway. Basically, it's not indoors.
So
wind
that's like a wind tunnel whistling
racing
through there.
the hallway. And that was what I mean. Our apartment, we're pretty far into the hallway. We're not right on the edge there, and it was still making our door rattle. That's how strong the wind was coming down the like hallways. It was
babe,
crazy.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you for sharing the experience. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad it's sunny there now, and love you very much. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you too. Talk to you guys later.
See you, babe. There's Grace in Orlando. All right, we will dive back into the headlines with Mark McMurray next.
Is that all you get for your money?
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
After confirming 5 storm-related deaths, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he doesn't have any reports of others at this point, though that may change. St. Lucie County Sheriff Keith Pearson says the deaths were caused by tornadoes that touched down near Fort Pierce. Florida Republican Congressman Mike Waltz tells the Salem Radio Network that Milton also posed some national security threats.
You have right there in Tampa Bay, MacDill Air Force Base, which is the home of our Special Operations Command and its headquarters, and our Central Command and its headquarters that right now is in the middle of dealing with what's going on in the Middle East. So you've got some national security impacts there as well.
The White House says President Biden will hold a briefing on the federal response to the storm and the role the Pentagon and the Coast Guard are playing in disaster response. Also at townhall.com, U.S. inflation fell in September to its lowest point since it first began surging more than 3 years ago.
Consumer prices rose just 2.4% last month compared to a year ago. That's down from 2.5% in August, and the smallest annual rise since February of 2021. If volatile food and energy costs are left out, so-called core prices remained elevated last month due to the rising costs for medical care, clothing, auto insurance, and airline fares. Overall, the September figures show that inflation is steadily easing back to the Fed's 2% target, even if it's been an uneven pattern. I'm Shirley Adler.
Social Security recipients will see a 2.5% bump as part of their cost of living adjustment for 2025. That increase marks the smallest in years. The Dow was down 60 points today, and the NASDAQ composite fell 9 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
In the best-selling author of Wonder and the creators of Jesus Revolution comes Whitebird.
I'm sure your father has told you stories about when I was a young girl.
Hope can lift you.
You stay with us, okay?
Courage can save you.
You're the bravest person I've ever met.
Love can free you.
When kindness can cost you your life, it becomes like a miracle.
From the director of Finding Neverland, Whitebird, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters now. Tickets and showtimes at whitebird.movie.
For anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
Form Energy, a company that's beginning to produce a longer-lasting alternative to...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A nice night, clear skies, low down to 56 degrees, sunny in the afternoon Friday, but a little bit warmer, a high of 85. And then Saturday, partly to mostly sunny. This is a warm day, 88. The record is 89 from 1890, but a dry day and a warm day for Saturday. Now, Sunday's a little cooler, breezy, and mostly sunny, but a high of around 77 for a very pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary.
A video of Florida Highway Patrol rescuing an abandoned and tied-up dog along a highway is going viral. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Did you know every 3 seconds someone is a victim of identity theft? LifeLock wants to give you helpful tips to protect your identity this Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Adding multi-factor authentication, like a text with a security code, is one way to boost your security. But for comprehensive protection, trust LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal info and steps in to resolve issues that arise, guaranteed or your money back. Protect yourself with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Milton is projected to be one of the worst natural disasters to hit Florida in a very long time, and I pray for the people and the animals that will be impacted. Speaking of animals, I cannot for the life of me figure out how some people are able to callously abandon their pets ahead of this storm. But there's a video going viral on social media of Florida Highway Patrol rescuing a dog that was seemingly tied to a fence post ahead of the incoming hurricane. First of all, thanks to the hero officers that saved its life. But I tell you what, if someone intentionally tied that poor dog up ahead of a storm with a 10-foot storm surge and 115-mile-per-hour winds, I will not mince words when I say rotten hell. It's bad enough to abandon your family pets, but it's a whole other level of evil to purposely leave an animal tied up to suffer and struggle. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Great to talk to my daughter Grace in that last segment. Her and I think that was the debut of Cole, her boyfriend, on the show, on the radio. Grace has been on the radio with me many times. Yes. Did I say boyfriend? Yeah, fiance. You are exactly right. Their experience with the hurricane yesterday. They both work at Disney World. They live in Orlando, and thank God what they experienced last night was not the same destruction level as what they experienced on the coast last night in the Tampa Bay area and places on the western coast of Florida from Hurricane Milton. But it was still a Category 2 hurricane when it got to Orlando, and she sent me some videos last night that I've posted on my Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk if you want to see them. And just the power of that wind is absolutely crazy. And if you've never experienced something like that before, like you just don't, it's just no way to explain. We unfortunately were very up close and personal with one of the area tornadoes several years ago, went right through our subdivision, and not too far from our home. And so I heard, like that the power of the wind, and people say it sounds like a freight train, and it really does sound like a freight train. It sounds like a spooky freight train is my description of it. But man, if you've never experienced that, you just don't. It's hard to comprehend the power of Mother Nature and of those type of storms. So thank God she's okay. And it was great to hear from her in that last segment. If you missed that, or you missed anything else from the first hour, talking to Crane Durham, talking to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, which we put out every day right after we get off the air on every podcast platform. So wherever your favorite place to get podcasts is, just make sure you're also subscribed to Colombo and Company. And that also goes for our Saturday show, my Saturday show, the Bluff City Outdoors Show. You can also subscribe to that podcast on every podcast platform. So subscribe to Colombo and Company and the Bluff City Outdoors Show. And joining me now in studio is my co-host from the Bluff City Outdoors Show, the owner of Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois, Mark McMurray. Great to see you, buddy.
Yep, it's great to have me. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So have you lived in Midwest your whole life, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm from the St. Louis area my whole life.
Tornado Alley here. What's the closest have you ever experienced a tornado or a bad storm like that?
The one that was the closest that I can remember, I was back probably in college. One hit Edwardsville, and it hit uptown, did some damage at town, but it had elevated and actually was right above where I lived. And we were all out, a bunch of us were out drinking beer in our barn, and we heard something go over. It sounded, like a freight train. And apparently it was because we're right before the bluff there, 157. And I think they kind of lift when they come up to a bluff. So it actually had gone over the house. So we heard it, but it didn't cause any damage. And then we found out later when we went into town to go hit the bar that, the bar had been hit.
Oh, geez.
So,
and that's another thing I was thinking about, our area, tornadoes, and then obviously floods, and you right there in Alton, people that are close to the river. When we think about these big weather events, and we think about the world that we live in now, Mark, where we can clone life. We can clone life, but Mother Nature is still the great equalizer of doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much technology you have.
Yeah,
when Mother Nature
everybody's the same
bows up.
Yes, and it's random.
Yeah. How were you guys? Because Bluff City Outdoors, the shop, is not far from the Mississippi River.
Yeah, but we're on the high part of town. So
right, okay,
but we're on the high part of town.
Gotcha. What was how the various floods that we've had, specifically, obviously 93, but some of the other ones, like how close to affecting you, or just obviously traveling.
The only thing that really affected us one year is they had closed the floodgates down there at East Alton. They're at Wood River Creek, and then there was water on the other end of basically Broadway. So there was couldn't get onto Broadway from either direction. You had to come up, down from the older part of town, down the bluff. So so we were sort of isolated there. The water wasn't anywhere near us, but. Because like I said, we're on the high part of that area.
Where I lived in high school, my parents' house was kind of by the very end of New Halls Ferry Road in North County. And you don't realize, especially if you're not from that area, you don't realize how close that is to the Missouri River.
Yeah, it ends like there, and then go down the bluff.
Yeah. It's like there's a quarry there at the very end of New Halls Ferry. And, that quarry is right on the river there. So, and, those are like we called them the back roads back there, like old Jamestown Road, those back roads, a lot of farm property back in there. So, there's not really any, reason for mass transportation for people to be going back there. But when you did, if you drove back there, especially in the fall, if the leaves were down, you could see the river from the road. And I remember like those floods, that water was right up next to New Halls Ferry. Yep. And there was houses that you could just see the roof of, or cars that were parked pretty far up the bank, pretty far up the hill, that were still halfway underwater.
Yeah, that was
there was
a lot of water.
Yeah. When when Mother Nature strikes, it's the great equalizer.
You can't control it,
for everybody. As I mentioned, Bluff City Outdoors show, Mark and I's show that you can hear every weekend here on News Talk STL, Saturdays at 11 a.m., Sundays at noon. We talk obviously a lot about all of the things happening in the great outdoors. The weather is, impacts a lot of our outdoor community. We've talked about in recent years, we've seen droughts. We've seen the rivers
we've seen
basically
the rivers
empty. We've seen them flooding. We've covered it.
This year was weird. We were, kind of flooded for 2 months and then low the rest of the time.
Yeah.
It's like there was no happy median there.
Exactly. What is happening right now in the outdoor community? When Mark's going to stick around with us for the rest of the show, we're going to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler as well. He's going to join the conversation in a few minutes. I want to dive into some headlines, but while we have Mark in the studio, I want to take advantage of this and talk a little bit about the great outdoors. What how is the situation right now? We're going into hunting season. Hunting season started in Missouri, about ready to start in Illinois. Archery season, right?
It's open in Illinois now.
Oh, it did open in Illinois.
So it's open in both. Yep.
There you go. So archery season underway in both. It's still a great time to fish. What's the outdoor community situation in our area?
Yeah. So right now we're kind of like on fishing side of it. We're just waiting for those water temps to get a little bit cooler to trigger that fall feeding pattern. And I mean, we're probably within a couple of degrees in the water because you're starting to see it in the fishing reports, fishing's picking up. So we need of course, now we're going to be up to almost 90 tomorrow, I think. But we need to get, in those nice mid 60, 64, 65 water temps. And then the fishing will be great as long as people can tolerate it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Like Mike Marfell, professional fisherman, regular on Bluff City Outdoors show, regular guest on this show as well. He always talks about that once we get into that fall pattern, it's great fishing until the water's hard.
Yep. Yeah, because they put on the feed sack, they start feeding up, and it's some of the best fishing of the year is usually in October, November.
Mm-hmm. And then Bluff City Outdoors also, for decades has been the go-to place for fishermen in the area. But a couple of years ago, you put on the big expansion. You now have a ton more products and services for the bow hunters in the area, and archery season now underway in both Missouri and Illinois. The archery range is open every day that you can shoot in there at Bluff City Outdoors. What have you heard early on from archery hunters in both?
So
Missouri
people are they're getting some deer, but they're not hitting the woods hard because the temperatures are up. They really want those temps like we're going to have, I think, next week.
Yeah. So that's the one thing, it definitely impacts fishing when you have temperatures jumping anywhere from the other day. I think it was when I woke up to take James to school a couple days ago, it was 44 degrees or something like that. And then, like you said, now it's, in the afternoons going back up to near 90. That definitely impacts fishing, but it impacts hunting too, even more, right?
Yeah, I mean, the woods,
the
upper 80s, it's pretty uncomfortable out there, bugs and, it's much better if you get in, some of that nice 60-degree weather.
Yeah. So what is it about the warmer temperatures is it more about the ability to camouflage and the comfort, or is
I think it is
the feeding
comfort
and the moving?
The comfort, and then if you get a deer, the temps are warmer. It's just you got to get to it quicker, so you don't have as much time. Just the spoilage potential. So
yeah,
that's why the 60s and 40s at night. It just helps.
Yep. Best place to go to learn about everything happening at Bluff City Outdoors, the Facebook page, the website.
Yeah, Facebook page, Bluff City Outdoors. That's where we post stuff out there fairly regular, and that's the best spot, to keep track of us.
Yeah. Are you still seeing an increase, especially now that we've started another hunting season? Are we still seeing, because we've talked about this a lot on the show, and we even talked about it at the old show at the old place, how the pandemic turned a lot of people back on to outdoors activities and, either introduce them or reintroduce them to fishing and hunting and things like that. As we start another hunting season, are you still seeing that growth in that industry?
So, I mean, we are, but from talking to a lot of my reps in the fishing and the hunting world, it's kind of, things are heading back towards like pre-COVID levels. A lot of places are seeing their business head back to that.
So is it plateauing or is it actually going down?
They said it's coming off the crazy
Yeah,
COVID.
increase.
Yeah, I
the-
mean,
the
there was
spike.
nuts there for a while
Yeah.
because you just couldn't get anything. Everybody was sold out of everything. But
Right.
now it's sort of stabilized. I think it's still up, though.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely up for us.
It's one of the few silver linings of the pandemic is that I think a lot of people
Made
in
'em
our
go
area
outside.
and across the country, you were looking for, with everything closed and you weren't allowed to be around people. It reminded you what a great time it is to just go out on the water and fish, or go out and camp, or go out and hunt.
Yeah. And we've just noticed the difference in, not as many rods and reel sales. Talked to the gun reps. They said, yeah, gun sales are down. And a lot of that is just people are running out of money too, because everything costs so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, that we're selling as much terminal tackle and bait and stuff as we've ever sold.
So I want to get into some of the politics of the day here as we continue the conversation with Mark McMurray from the Bluff City Outdoors Show and from Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. We're going to get Dr. Randy Tobler on the line with us to continue that conversation in a minute. But before we talk to Doc, you live and work in Illinois, and along with, a great deal of our listeners in Missouri, we've got a lot going on the ballot in November. I think in both Missouri and Illinois, unfortunately, the presidential election is not the driving force behind
definitely not. Yeah.
going and voting, because in Missouri, it's pretty
Much decided, and so is
confident,
Illinois. Yeah.
and unfortunately in Illinois as well. What are some of the issues? Are there some, we talk a lot about Amendment 3 and sports betting and things like that are on the ballot for Missourians? In Illinois, is there?
I just don't think
as
we have
much?
that. No, I don't think we do. I mean,
Yeah.
I usually, now it's about when I go out and do all my research and, print my sample ballot. I make a little voter's guide to take
Right.
in there with myself. So,
Right. And it's unbelievable to me. And I think that people outside of the Midwest, outside of our area, I think would be shocked to realize how geographically, how red Illinois is.
oh yeah, it's
But
red with
it's-
a few blue spots. You
Mhm.
got Chicago, kind of Peoria area, Springfield maybe a little bit, but other
Mhm.
than that, it's Alabama.
Right. Is it too much to say that literally without the city of Chicago, it's a solidly red
Oh,
state?
yeah, it is. The rest of the state's red.
That's incredible.
Maybe not as red as some areas like in Oklahoma or maybe in Missouri, but it's pretty red once you get
Yeah.
away from the cities.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's not it's not a unique story to Illinois about the big cities are the ones that determine the national, races and outcomes. But I think Illinois is the most extreme example of one city,
Yes, it's because it's pretty much one city.
just one city, one dot on the map, essentially. It's a big dot. Chicago's a huge city. But just one dot on the map is what speaks for the entire state of Illinois.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about running for governor in Illinois. My whole platform was going to be selling Chicago to Wisconsin.
Yes. You know what? That has been in the news. There have been headlines. I don't know how serious it is. I don't know how real it is. I don't even know how the possibility of this, but there's been stories. I want to say it was in like Idaho and Oregon, up in the Northwest. There were bills that were being voted on and passing.
Yeah,
Like
a bunch
they were
of counties wanting to
to
join
move,
from
to-
Oregon into Idaho.
to change the border.
Yep,
Yeah.
border of the
And
state.
there have been movements to split Illinois in half and basically make a North Illinois and a South Illinois, like a North Dakota and a South Dakota, because there's
just so
so
different.
much of the state that is different from what the governor and the national, map would tell you.
Yep. Yeah. It's just but those a lot of I think Wisconsin's kind of the same way.
Mhm.
Minnesota is.
Yeah. It's
I
not,
mean,
like I
it's
said,
just-
it's not rare, but I think Illinois might be the most extreme example.
Yeah, that's
of that. And we were just talking about, I don't know if you saw Tim Walz yesterday or the day before brought up the asinine idea that we've heard from Democrats in recent years about eliminating the Electoral College. He was at a campaign event in California, and he said, I think I have that story here, if I have that quote exactly. Yeah, he said, quote, I think we all know that the Electoral College needs to go. I think we all know. Thanks you for speaking for me, Tim Walz. I do not agree with that at all. I think we all know the Electoral College needs to go. We need a national popular vote. And when I read this story, and this is something I've talked about many times, because every time this issue comes up, it just makes my blood boil because of the stupidity of people who, if you don't live in Illinois, would be on the list of big states because of how many electoral votes you guys have. But if you don't live in New York, California, Texas, Florida, Illinois, and you are advocating the elimination of the Electoral College, you're advocating for your vote to mean nothing.
Yep.
I mean, it just is. It's just absolutely asinine.
I don't think it should be. Now, I got my own way I think it should work.
You have a lot of those, and they usually make a whole lot of sense.
So mine on the Electoral College,
it,
but
yeah.
the whole every state would have to do it.
Yeah.
Is that you base it on the congressional district? Whoever wins that congressional district gets the electoral one vote for that district.
Oh, so the electoral
and then the
votes
winner of
are
the
split up by
congressional districts. So
not
that's how
by
they're
states,
right?
So you could win,
But that's how they're counted.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be like somebody wins Illinois and they get the 30 electoral votes. They could get
5. It could be,
yeah, 5 from 5 for Democrats and 20 for Republicans.
So it comes down to each, because you can count it at each congressional district. They do it, so you count it there. Whoever wins that congressional district gets that congressional district electoral vote.
Gets that one vote.
Then whoever wins the state's popular vote gets the 2 votes for the Senate.
That might be even more fair.
Oh, that's
than the Electoral College is.
That's way more fair because it's all done proportionally.
And it lives up to the meaning behind the Electoral College, which was to not allow the bigger states to have a dominant of. Yeah, I did the math yesterday, and I talked about this on the show yesterday. If theoretically, if it was just popular vote, a presidential candidate could win 11 states and win the presidency.
And not have to spend any time elsewhere.
39 states would be useless. Would not even matter. They wouldn't even have to worry about what those people think or what they want or anything, about their needs. It's 11. I think 11, the top 11 states gets you 268. If I'm remembering correctly, the top 11 states get you 268 electoral votes. And then if you get Washington, D.C. in there as well, you could do 11 states in D.C. or the top 11 states and any other state. Or just D.C. And you're over the 270 threshold, and 39 states don't matter.
Yep.
That's how dumb the idea of the popular vote is. And I think that your plan
and 2 states
actually does it even better.
Yeah, 2 states do that currently, Nebraska and Maine. They both do it that way.
Your way?
Yeah, they both do it that way.
Did you tell them to do it that way?
No, it's just they've done it that way. But when you look at it, you're thinking it makes the most sense.
It does make
because it gets it down to that, that vote.
Yeah.
Illinois, I think, it's got 17 electoral votes. I think 16 or 17 now. It's been shrinking pretty fast. But
it's still like in the top 5 or 6, though. It's still way up the list.
Yeah,
because I was just looking at it yesterday. It was surprisingly high. Like how it was. I knew that Illinois was up there, but it was higher. I was surprised at how high it was. I want to say it was in the top 5, which is amazing. And again, I guess just shows you the power of Chicago.
Yep.
It's just, the national stage.
That controls everything.
For sure. That is Mark McMurray. We're going to talk about some more things that make sense and maybe don't make sense as we continue the conversation here. And we're also going to be joined by Dr. Randy Tobler from The Randy Tobler Show next here on Colombo Company.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL, live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
If you have never had the cleaning pros at Zero Res in your home, you do not know what you are missing. They are the best. We talk a lot when we talk about Zero Res. We talk a lot about carpets because carpets are a big deal. They're one of the biggest investments in your home. They're also the biggest air filter in your home. So if you don't have clean carpets, you're rebreathing the germs and bacteria and all the, allergens that are caught up in your carpets. But Zero Res can clean any surface in your home. And believe me, I know that from personal experience because we have relied on the cleaning pros at Zero Res to bring our house back to life many, many times over the years. And that is everything from upholstery, furniture, to tile, air ducts, carpet. They do it all at Zero Res. And right now they have a great offer for you for the month of October. A scary good deal for the month of October, if you will. All you got to do is book a cleaning with Zero Res this month, and you will get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. That already is incredible. 3 rooms of carpet starting at $129. Plus, you could take $75 off an air duct cleaning if you'd like that service as well. And again, the importance of that just for the air in your home and the health of your home and your family is so important. So this is a great deal, great opportunity that you can take advantage of. Again, just mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning with Zero Res in the month of October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020, or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards. It spells the same, Zero Res.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis Sports Bar and Grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 in Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
This is what we feared would happen. In fact, I warned it would. I was not trying to frighten you, but just make you aware. During our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, we were supposed to honor tens of thousands of Afghans who worked with our government and our troops during those 20 years and get them and their families safely out and away from the Taliban. They had special immigrant visas. We were also told that all Afghans flown into the U.S. were properly vetted before putting foot on U.S. soil. Well, now we have an Afghan national in Oklahoma charged, not convicted, of plotting a terrorist act on Election Day. There is reportedly video of him telling his sister and children what he will get as a martyr. If this is true, we caught one who shouldn't be here. 1 out of tens of thousands we let in, unvetted. Now, what are the odds? All the others mean no harm to our nation. What are the odds, really? And do not forget, while we were using U.S. military planes to fly Afghans out of the country, we left behind uncounted numbers of Americans. Biden-Harris policy bears the blame for what happened.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Question: do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world. Cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
Hello, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, your diamonds are so fantastic at Newsteaders. You named the website after them, wowdiamonds.com. Tell us about Wow Diamonds.
Well, we picked that name because when people look at the diamonds, they all exclaim the same thing. Everybody says, wow, and nobody can spell Newsteaders, so we figured Wow Diamonds would definitely be good tagline, and it's very accurate. We actually introduced the lab-grown diamond to our St. Louis family, and we're the exclusive home of the trademark Wow Diamond. It's the most perfectly cut and polished diamond you'll ever experience, and we can fit one into anyone's budget. The thing that's nice about them is they're significantly less expensive than a mined diamond, and of course the artwork is in the cutting and polishing. That's where you get the beauty in the diamond, and that's what we excel at.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders Fine Jewelers.
Epic STL is always on the lookout for highly motivated, goal-oriented, results-driven people to add to our growing, winning team of sales and content professionals. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL is a locally owned and operated venture of Epic STL. Apply to be a part of our creative, fun, and rewarding work environment by simply going to the Connect tab on newstalkstl.com and click on Application. Epic STL and News Talk STL are equal opportunity employers.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With daylight, we get a look at the damage caused by Hurricane Milton. It is already enormous.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Watch out! You might get what you're after. Cool babies. Stranger than a stranger.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Emily and Mark McMurray, the owner of Bluff City Outdoors, my co-host on Saturdays and Sundays for the Bluff City Outdoors Show. You can hear the Bluff City Outdoors Show every Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sundays at noon here on News Talk STL. And you can also subscribe to the Bluff City Outdoors Show podcast, just like you can with Colombo and Company on basically every podcast platform, because just like this show, we put that show out right after we get off the air every week as a podcast and on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts, make sure you subscribe to Colombo and Company and the Bluff City Outdoors Show. We were supposed to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler, but he is not only is Dr. Tobler the morning show host on the Eagle in Columbia, Missouri. He's got his Saturday morning show here on News Talk STL, and he's still a practicing physician.
He's a busy man.
He makes you kind of feel like you're not, at least me, maybe not you, but he makes me feel like I'm leaving something on the table. So unfortunately, he got called away with a patient and is unable to join us. So continuing the conversation here with Mark McMurray, one of the things that I wanted to specifically talk to you about, this issue is not on your ballot in Illinois this November, but it's one of the biggest issues that Missouri is going to be facing, and something that we've talked about almost every day for the last several weeks here on the show, and that is Amendment 3, the abortion issue. I believe that Republicans are making a big mistake by not allowing by only making this a binary choice, because I think Democrats are taking advantage of this big time. They're lying about the truth of what is in Amendment 3. They are not truthful with the way that they are promoting the bill. But at the end of the day, along with all those lies and all that misinformation, it comes down to people don't want to, when it's a binary choice, people struggle with taking absolutely taking a choice or a right away from somebody.
Yeah, because it's just not where most people are.
Right. I'm extremely pro-life. In my life, I am 100% pro-life. However, I am for a very restrictive bill. So politically, I'm pro-choice, but with very serious restrictions. I liked the old Missouri law of basically the heartbeat bill, an 8-week, a 10-week, a heartbeat, whatever it may be, something that eliminates all of the late term abortions, all of the partial birth abortions, all these barbaric procedures that are horrific. Let's get all of that gone.
Yes,
which Amendment 3 wouldn't do if it's passed.
And that's the problem, is because you need to be willing to take that and put it in the bank.
Yes.
And then you work on the rest of it.
You can work on the rest, right? Now, like I said, with the lies and the misinformation about Amendment 3 and the way that it's being promoted to people by the Democrats, which is hilarious, because their whole thing is the government and politicians shouldn't be making your medical choices. And this is the party that wanted to make vaccinations mandatory.
Force the jab in you.
So, I mean, it's just unbelievable, the hypocrisy there. But you have one of the best possible solutions to this issue that I have ever heard. I was wondering if you would share.
Yeah. So I'm a pro-lifer. I mean, I've been that way. I had a nephew that was born very premature. At the time, he was the youngest in St. Louis to have ever survived.
Wow.
So I'm a pro-lifer. I think it's wrong. I think abortion's wrong. But I'm also pragmatic and realistic that that's not where the country is. So I believe that it should be the time of when it becomes absolutely illegal should be based upon what is the youngest premature birth that's ever occurred and survived. So that's your
viable outside.
Yes.
Mother.
So what is that? And at that point, anything beyond that time is off the table.
And the law would change.
With
as
medicine and science reduce that number.
Yeah.
So it would change. It would slide.
So whatever age the baby was, or how far along they were, the mother was, when a baby is born that survives.
Yep, a premature baby.
That's your
line.
I like that a lot.
So
because part of the problem with this is everybody, it's the idea of playing God, of who am I and who are you and who are anybody to determine when life begins, when sentience begins, when all that begins. This is not necessarily an answer to that question, but it does answer the question of, this is a viable,
there's no doubt,
human life.
Because you just had one live.
There's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it.
I think that is,
and then as science improves and everything, that number will reduce. It will reduce.
I think that is. I think it's a really smart idea.
It needs to get some momentum somewhere.
Yeah,
on that thought.
Well, you got a couple states to go along with your electoral college idea. Maybe you can get.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's. I'm
going to bring that up. I don't know if I'm going to give you credit for it. I got to think about that. But I'm going to bring that up to a couple of our legislative friends, some of the lawmakers that we know, and just see if that idea has ever even been discussed.
And I bet if you put that out there in a poll, you'd get 90% of the people would say, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Yes.
So you take that and you put it in the bank and you stash
totally
those
agree.
savings.
That's Mark McMurray from the Bluff City Outdoors Show. Tune in every weekend, Saturdays 11 a.m., Sundays at noon, to hear Mark and I on the Bluff City Outdoors Show. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on the Bluff City Outdoors Facebook page and check them out in Alton, Illinois, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's there on Broadway. All right, Emily and I back tomorrow at 2. The O'Reilly Report next. Then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on News Talk STL.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute